Hello team, and welcome to another session of the Kinstretch with the Fitness Alchemists. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find Hannah anywhere, so and there she is. So good. I was gonna need to model everything on my own. We're gonna get into what we're calling leg day today, kind of a little take on that classic gym joke. And for props, you're gonna need a couple blocks because we're gonna be spending quite a bit of time inside lying. Pillow could work just fine as well. Something to go under your head, but something also to squeeze with your legs to really help with the irradiation. And then a little later on, we're going to need to find a setup where your back foot can be blocked against something that's not going to move. So that could be a coffee table leg or a couch leg, the corner of a couch as well, or a door frame, kind of a threshold. Just something where you can wedge your foot up against and you're confident that it's not going to move, because we're going to really train some of the strongest muscles of your body, and you don't want to be worried about moving the object that you're pressed up against. So go ahead, think through that, and I'll give you time later to set that up. But for now, go ahead, come down into a side lying position, and we're going to start with some hip cars just to get things warmed up and moving. So you can use that other block or pillow to brace your hands against. Make sure your abs are contracted so nothing's going to move through your spine, and start driving your top leg back into hip extension. When you find that end range, lift your shin up to the ceiling and smoothly trace that arc forward with your knee, not letting your spinal column move around at all. Keep going in this direction as you pass through. And again, notice this position of hip extension, noticing a stretch on the front of the thigh, maybe a contraction on the back of the thigh. That hip extension position is a major point of training that we're going to hit today, and we're going to offer an alternative setup for that, so something to take note of. When your knees come together, go ahead and move the other direction. Trying to really feel as many muscles contracting around your hip joint as possible. The hip car really does have the potential to train each and every one of those muscles, but you want to make sure you go slowly and deliberately enough that you give those muscles a chance to turn on and really help you. Go ahead and finish up a second rep in this direction. Working hard through your upper body, even as you're sending effort and awareness into that moving leg. Nice. Sweep it all the way down. When your knees come together, pause, turn over onto your other side, and we will get your 2 hip cars on this side. Brace your body. Turn on that midsection contraction, and then again, start driving your top heel behind you for hip extension. Feeling that stretch and feeling that contraction effort that pulls you into the stretch. Continue on your way through your hip car, noticing how this hip might feel different, how the range of motion possibility might be different, and continue on for a second rep into hip extension. Good stuff. Trying to really grab ownership of each and every one of these positions. When your knees come together, let's go ahead and move in the other direction. Noticing how the hip contraction might feel different as you approach it from this direction. Moving your heel back high behind you, and then keep reaching behind you as you open up the front of your hip. Start sweeping your knee towards the floor and pass through, scraping your knees together for a second hip car rep. Prying those knees apart, keeping that height in your knee as you start to sweep your heel behind you. Good. And it should really feel like you're reaching for or working for each position. If you're not, then you're probably not really finding end range at that position. So again, something to note. All right, so from here, come on to hands and knees. And I wanted to train hip cars first before we did spinal flexion extension, just to start to feel how the motion of your spine relates to the tension and contraction of your hip. So let's find some real solid pressure through the hands and through the legs. Feel that turn your body into a stiff, muscly statue, and then begin controlling that motion, but from the top of your spine. So curling your chin into your neck, stretching out the back of your neck, and feeling that segmental opening or flexion of your spine as you walk your way down, rounding the top of your rib cage, rounding the mid part of your rib cage, and the bottom of your rib cage, and then really finding that active stretch effort through your lower back, and finally feeling your tailbone curl under. Once you get there with the tail curled under, notice how the muscles of your hip are actually helping curl your tailbone under. That's totally on purpose. That's great. Keep that effort going of curling your tail, and then start again at your neck, moving your chin away from your neck, starting to open up the front of your neck, and we're moving down your spine through extension. Reach your collarbones forward. Try to stretch your sternum bone forward and towards the floor, and feel contraction building in all of those muscles that go down the side of your spinal column. Keep working until you're reaching your tailbone up to the ceiling. Now, this is where you might feel some real tension in your hip crease and on the sides of your hip. Use that as a nice active reference of not moving your hips as we again start at your neck, curling your chin into your neck for spinal flexion. Stretching the back of your neck, feeling each of those segments contribute, and then stretching the back of your ribs, one at a time. It can be a little odd to think about what muscles contract and shorten here, but if you go slow enough, you will start to feel that effort in your high abs and even through your rib cage. And then start moving into your lumbar spine. Can you get a little bit more stretch on this second rep? And can you curl that tailbone under a little bit more? Can you use the tension of your feet and your hands to get a little bit more contraction? Once you feel that, commit to keeping your abs contracted as we finish up with your neck moving into extension. One more time, moving at the very and then working your way down. Very nice. So it's the smoothest wave that you can create, but moving slowly and deliberately. Trying to get as much involvement from as many segments as possible. Keep working until your tailbone is reaching up actively, and then let that tension go. Very nice. Okay. So like I mentioned, we're going to do the rest of the class nearly from a side lying position. So make sure you find a nice comfortable setup for your head. And then with that other block or prop, you're going to throw that between your thighs. And we're going to start with some knee cars from this position. So to set up your hip, try to bring your thighs up towards your stomach. That would be hip flexion. But make sure you're not going so close to your stomach that your spine starts to round. You can see Hannah's using a hand to monitor that, but you could also just place a hand on the waist and make sure that you're not rounding your spine into flexion. So with that nice tight angle at your hip, go ahead, squeeze the block and brace your midsection using your hands to guide that. And then those points will stay still and active as you bend your knee as much as possible, heel to butt. And then we're going to add on that rotation. So rotate your shin and your toes up towards the ceiling. This is external rotation of your knee joint. Try to keep that effort going as you begin straightening your leg. And check in, how much can you straighten your leg without losing the squeeze of the block? Once you're there, internally rotate your shin and toe towards the floor and start bending your knee. Trying to feel as much closing on the back of your knee as possible. And then hold that rotation in internal rotation and start straightening the leg out. Again, notice how straight you can get before externally rotating and pulling the heel back. Good. So hold here once you're all the way flexed and try to pull that outer ankle bone more towards your butt. Feel that rotation and start straightening your leg. Internally rotate the shin and toe and start thinking about pulling your inner ankle bone towards your butt. See if that helps you get a little bit more rotation out. Then hold that internal rotation and begin straightening. Externally rotate and bring that outer ankle bone towards your butt. Keep trying to wring out more rotation as you bend. Nice work, okay? So that's how we tick-tock our knee cars, and we'll do a little bit more of that. But for now, you want to make sure that you can now straighten that top knee. So you can see Hannah was not quite all the way there, so she's just going to slide the thighs away from the stomach a little bit. And now, there it is. She's able to pull the kneecap up and find terminal knee extension, or a knee lock. So you can use your hands on your thigh bone, or on your thigh, the top of your thigh. Feel that active effort, keep it working, and then pull the toe up towards the knee so that you are dorsiflexing your ankle. We're going to start moving your foot through an ankle car. So reach your toe towards the floor, but don't let your thigh or shin rotate at all and follow the motion of your toe. We want to just trace that nice big circle up towards the ceiling, and then once you get toe to knee, let's tick-tock the other way here. Moving through that full ankle range of motion and noticing contraction in each and every line of tension as you pull your way in. Pause with toe to knee and start going in that first direction. Are you still squeezing the block? Is your upper body still on tension? Keep that party alive. And then start going the other way. And wrap up that ankle car with strong, controlled effort, almost trying to draw it out to get more contraction. And then rest. Great. Let's go ahead and move on to the other side. So hopefully at this point you're starting to get a feel for why we call it leg day, because even when we're doing an ankle movement, the rest of your leg tissue is very alive and active to help coordinate that ankle movement. Okay, so setting up here, we're going to again start with the knee. Find that maximum amount of hip flexion, thigh to stomach, without your spine moving. Then squeeze the block tightly. Pull your heel to your butt and rotate your shin and toe to the ceiling. So you can think outer ankle bone pulling towards your butt. And then keep your body braced as you start to straighten your leg. Find as much straightening as you can without the block moving. Internally rotate the shin and the toe. Pull the inner ankle bone towards your butt. Hold that rotation as you find a complete stop, and then start straightening the leg. When you get as straight as you can get there, externally rotate. Try to keep adding rotation as you bend your knee. Great stuff. We'll do one more like that. Keep that rotation and straighten out. When you find a complete stop, rotate the other way, and then keep adding that rotation as you bring inner ankle bone towards your butt. Finding complete stop, begin straightening out. Keep the block squeezed as you externally rotate, and then outer ankle bone moving towards your butt as tight as possible for knee flexion. Good. And this is really going to help us set up for our exercise later. Go ahead and relax that, and then readjust your hips so that again you can find a complete straightening of that top leg. Okay? So you can kind of readjust, make sure you're still able to squeeze that block, and now you're able to feel the active kneecap pulling up your thigh feeling. Keep that working as you begin toe to kneecap for your ankle car. Start reaching the toe towards the floor, feeling your inner ankle bone area contract, and then the back of your calf and Achilles, and then the outer area of your ankle bone contracts to lift your toes towards the ceiling, and then toe to kneecap. Pause here, and let's go the other way. As you reach your toes to the ceiling, keep squeezing the block so that the thigh doesn't try to rotate and follow the motion of your toes. But we're really restricting that motion right to your ankle joint, right to that area where your lower leg meets your foot. Good. Let's do one more rep in each direction, trying to flirt with as many cramp sensations as you can at each position. Maybe feeling it in the bottom of your foot, maybe in your calf muscles, maybe in some small corners of your ankle motion that you didn't even really know there was muscle there. Great, and then finish it up going the other way. Tick-tocking that ankle car. Great work. Keep working all the way until that toe is pulled up to your kneecap, and then let the whole system relax. Nice work. Okay, so we're going to come back onto the first side and do another set here, but we're going to switch over to timed set so that you can move at your pace and do as many or as few knee and ankle cars as makes sense. But really treat this as an opportunity to move by feel, so you don't feel like you have to keep up or track with the speed that Hannah's demonstrating. So brace your body, squeeze that block, pull your thighs into hip flexion, and then bend that top knee. And let's all start with that external rotation of your shin and toes. Then keep the block braced, keep the upper body braced, and begin straightening your leg out. And we're going to tick-tock your knee cars for 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Really pour on that effort throughout this whole minute. When you get to end range flexion, go ahead and reverse it. Tick-tock your knee car the other way. Good. On this second round, it's very common to feel that you've unlocked just a little bit more rotation. So leave that opportunity open. Don't just assume that what you found the first round is what you've got today, but really knock on the door of more rotation, more straightening of the leg, more bending of the knee. We're trying to, as always, expand the options available to your knee joint. Keep working hard. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax that effort. Hannah's working hard over here.
Squeezing the block makes a big difference.
Squeezing the block. Yeah, that's part of the hallmark of this setup, even better than when we do knee cars from seated, I think. So find your ankle car setup, moving those thighs away as needed. Really strong straightening of the knee. Almost think about opening the back of your knee even more. That can help you feel that quad contraction. And then toe pulls up to your kneecap. Turn on your whole body so all of your muscles are in effort towards that top ankle moving. Hannah's already moving, so she's going to get a little bonus as we start your minute now. Go for it. She's just a glutton for ankle work. Good. Again, flirt with as many cramp sensations as you can, recalling that cramping in this context is an indication of your brain being confused. It doesn't know what to do in these very short muscle positions. So like we would in any other realm, the way to improve confusion is to get a little bit more exposure, more reps, more contraction, maybe slower movement, so your brain can become less confused. Keep fighting for more. 15 more seconds. You can see Hannah's monitoring her knee. The knee will try to bend. The leg will try to rotate, so keep squeezing that block for 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, other side. And we'll do our timed sets on this leg.
That knee is sneaky, y'all. I recommend you stand on there if you aren't already.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll start again with the knee car, but feel your maximum amount of hip flexion. So that hip flexion angle, we're just talking about bringing your thigh as close to the spine as possible without letting the spine round, okay? So solidify that position, squeeze the block, squeeze your upper body, bend your top knee, rotate your shin to the ceiling, body braced, and start to straighten the leg out. Find as much straightening as you can, internally rotate the knee joint. Start pulling that inner ankle bone towards your butt as tight as you can. Find a complete stop, and then reverse and go the other way, straightening out, externally rotating, and then keep adding rotation by thinking outer heel bone to butt. Pause when you can't bend the knee anymore and begin straightening. Squeezing the block all the time to try to get a little bit more rotation out of your knee. Bend that knee, heel to butt. Great work. 20 seconds, team. Keep the effort at a very high level for just those last 15 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and wherever you're at, relax that effort. And then readjust your hips again to make sure you can find a completely straight knee. Good. And again, you can think of opening the back of the knee, but also using your hands to track. Big stretch down the back of the leg, and that's part of the setup. That's a good thing. If it's too uncomfortable, though, you can always sweep your thigh further down and find a little bit more space to work. All right, so keep that quad active. Start pulling toe to kneecap. And then don't let the block get unsqueezed as you begin your ankle car here. 1 minute, tick-tocking your ankle car one way and then the other way. Great stuff. So as you really get a feel for this motion, begin trying to pick up on the tilting of the bottom of your foot and see if you can maximize that tilt, because that tilt is actually the means whereby we move through our full range of motion. That can be sometimes a new experience, so invite that tilting to help you get more contraction at each of these angles. Good, past the halfway point. Good, at this point the knee might be trying to bend, so really spend some effort there, and whatever you have left, move the ankle around. 15 seconds to go. Wring it out. Find those crampies. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Great stuff. Okay, so now is where we're going to move on to the hip, and this is where you're going to want your immovable object. When you set up for that, you're going to be hooking your back foot against it and then laying facing away from it. So essentially you're going to be making this type of shape with your body, but just laying down on this bottom leg, or rather as the bottom leg. So as Hannah gets into this setup here, I'm going to have her face away from the camera so that you can see exactly what's going on with this working leg, this bottom leg. But just know that if we brought her upright, she would be in exactly this shape. This also gives you an idea of why we're doing this setup, because half kneeling can be a lot of stress for the knee. So if that's the case for you, this is going to be an option or a substitute that you're going to want to keep in mind for hip extension work. Okay, so to help out with an immovable object, we're going to just bring a kettlebell in here. Nice. There you go, Hannah. Okay, so as you hook that ankle onto that couch leg, that corner of your doorway, whatever you have, make sure you have the screen somewhere where you can see it, and then start hunting for a stretch on the front of your hip and into your quad. Those are the tissues that get long as we move into hip extension. So that's where we're going to want to, what we're going to want to identify. You can find that by curling your tailbone under. If you still don't feel the stretch, you would just walk your body forward. And then once you're pretty confident with that setup, use your other prop, your other block. If I can just show this for a second, Hannah. Your other block is going to sneak underneath your top thigh to really connect you to the floor and feel stable. All right, so hands can press into the floor. Turn on your upper body brace by packing some air. And then we're going to start up a Pales contraction for this bottom leg. Begin by curling that tailbone and then starting to kick the foot into the immovable object. Start with light pressure and ramp up smoothly so that you feel the tissues on the front of the thigh and near the knee light up. And then add on to that by trying to sweep the whole bottom leg forward. But it can't because there's an immovable object here. Ramp that effort up to 50%. Keep building to 60, 70, 80, and 90% effort here. That's almost all-out effort. Pretty significant, but you should feel like you can sustain this effort for just 9 more seconds. Hold it, contracting, feeling that stretch tissue on the front of your hip really working for 3, 2, 1, and slowly melt that away. Now, after a Pales effort, you might find that the stretch has gone away, so we want to move into that range a little further. If that's the case for you, again, just scoot your body forward or curl the tailbone under more, and that might be enough to find the stretch. And now we're going to get our rails contraction. So again, start by curling your tailbone under. This should help you feel a butt squeeze. And then instead of trying to kick your foot, try to bend your knee to lift your foot away from the immovable object. Use that to turn on contraction on the back of your thigh, and then try to sweep this thigh bone behind you, effectively opening up a more active and intense stretch on the front of your hip. Turn up this effort to your greatest safe effort as soon as you can, and try to think of pulling your heel towards your butt and trying to drive that thigh further behind your body for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly let that tension dissipate. Very nice work, okay? So we're going to stay in this setup here and now work a little bit on the knee tissue. And this will be similar to that rails contraction you just found, but now we're actually going to generate some movement at the knee. So brace again, turn your upper body tension on, squeeze that block into the floor with your thigh, and then curl your tailbone very actively so you're sure your spine isn't going to move. And then really try to bend your down leg knee. That bend would result in your foot coming away from the immovable object, and really try your darndest to lift that foot, okay? 2 things might happen when you do that. One is that your foot might not move, in which case we know that we need to open up a little more range. If you're in the case where your foot came way off of that support, then you're actually going to want to scooch down and bend the knee more. Hannah wasn't getting any movement, so she's just going to slide up the floor a bit, okay? And then brace again, curl that tailbone, and bend the knee. And let's see if we get some space here. There we go. So you can see about 1 inch of space. That's about as much as you're going to want. If you get more than 1 inch, again, you're going to slide down so your knee bends more. If you get 1 inch or less, but you're able to lift, then you're spot on. Okay, so we're going to do 5 reps of these lift-offs. So brace your body, curl that tailbone, start bending your knee so that you create that space and that lift, find a complete stop, and then like your foot is attached to a parachute, slowly set it back down. Rep 2, brace, bend, complete stop, slowly lower. Good. Brace, bend, slowly unbend. Good. 2 more reps, team. Brace, bend, then slowly let the foot down. Last one, really turn on your upper body brace. Bend that knee as tight as you can and slowly set it down, okay? So stay in this setup here for a moment. An interesting thing happens when we start to really contract tissue shorter, and that is that the brain becomes more connected, which means that you might find, even though your leg's getting tired, that you're able to get a little bit more knee bend each time, which means that we want to take up that slack and again work at your new end range. So if you can, go ahead, slide down so that your knee is just a little bit more bent, putting you a little closer to end range knee flexion. And then brace your body here, and we're going to do 5 more reps with this tighter angle at your knee. Okay? This time you might get even smaller lift or maybe 0 lift, but now your brain recognizes what tissue we're trying to train in the back of the thigh. All right, turn that brace on super strong. Begin bending your knee and really try to create that space. There we go, Hannah, nice job. And slowly lower, good. Rep 2, brace, bend that knee, bringing heel to butt as tight as you can and slowly lower. 3 more reps, brace, bend that knee, folding at the knee even tighter and slowly lower. Brace, bend the knee, heel to butt, heel to butt, heel to butt, and slowly lower. Last one, send all the effort you can to bend the knee and then very slowly set that foot back down. Nice. All right, so that leg should be torched. Let's go ahead and flip on over and get the other side. I'm going to just move our setup.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so again, the top leg is going to be forward and braced against a block. The bottom foot is going to be hooked against that immovable object. This is a couch leg, a coffee table leg, or maybe a corner of a door frame. And then once you have it hooked, then you can adjust your body to find a stretch in your thigh or front of hip area on that bottom leg. So you're going to hunt for that stretch by curling the tailbone under. And if you don't feel a stretch there, then you might scoot your body forward away from that object until you're really finding an end range position where this thigh bone can't move behind your pelvis anymore. Okay, once that stretch feels nice and clear to you, go ahead, brace your body. And we're going to begin our pales contraction for your hip tissue. Start with a gentle kicking of this back knee into the immovable object. And then add on to that you're trying to sweep your leg forward, increasing the pressure of your ankle against that object. Ramp this up to 50% effort and continue building that effort, smoothly adding on to 60%, 70%, 80%, and now a near maximum 90% effort for 15 seconds. Really applying yourself, applying all the muscles in your upper body to try to sweep your bottom leg forward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good stuff. Now, again, make sure you feel a stretch in the front of that bottom thigh. If you need to adjust to find that stretch, curl that tailbone, scoot your body, whatever you need to do. And now we do our rails contraction. Curl your tailbone under again. This time try to float that ankle away from the immovable object. Don't fight for it too much, just try to use it to find that contraction on the back of your thigh, and then try to pull your thigh more behind you. If the foot comes off, that's totally fine, but really focus on trying to move your hip joint, your thigh bone, more behind you. Max out this effort all the way up to your greatest safe contraction and hold it for 10 more seconds, trying to actively open up the front of that bottom hip. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax that tension, okay? And now we're gonna move into a little knee work that we've primed with that rails contraction. So from here, for this first round, go ahead and brace your body, curl that tailbone under. Just like our rails contraction, start trying to lift your foot off of the immovable object, but really do try to create some space between your ankle and the object. Fight for that. You can see maybe Hannah gets about 2 millimeters. That's plenty. And then set it down smoothly. If you got no lift off, now's the time to readjust your body further up or away from this object. If you got a ton of lift, then go ahead, slide your knee down in front of the object so that you're able to get closer to your end range. Brace, and we got 4 more reps. Turn it on, bend that knee, find as much bend as possible, hold and slowly set down. Brace, curl that tailbone, bend the knee, find a complete stop, slowly set it down. Brace, bend the knee, find a complete stop, and then slowly set it down. Last two, brace, bend the knee, slowly set it down. Last rep, brace, bend that knee, hold a complete stop, and slowly set it down. Okay, so just like the other side, Hannah started with 1 millimeter of lift, and by the last rep was at about 1 centimeter of lift. So she's going to readjust, but very slightly here, just moving the knee down in front of the immovable object, essentially setting her passive knee bend a little bit tighter. Okay, so these exercises are called passive range liftoffs because you want to get near your end passive range and then work to lift off of that range, which really helps our body learn how to work at these shorter muscle positions. All right, so that was me talking to give you a little bit of a break.
Thank
You
you.
rested and ready, team? Okay, here it is. Turn your body tension on. Don't skip that part. Curl your tailbone. And then really try to bend your knee. Send an all-out effort signal. Find a complete stop and slowly set it down. Each rep, try to open up more space between your ankle and the object. Find a complete stop and set down. Brace, bend, smoothly set down. No rush to set it down. 2 more reps. Brace and bend. Slowly set it back. Last one, all-out effort, team. Bend that knee a little bit more. Heel the butt and smoothly set it down. Excellent job. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to a back lying position now to wrap this up and give the hips a chance to see what's going on. So flatten out your spine, pressing your lower back into the floor, and then slide your non-working leg a little bit straighter. It doesn't have to be all the way straight, just so you have room to clear your other ankle over that knee, okay? Then you can see you're gonna bend your working leg so that your knee joint is right over your hip, and if you would, place your finger right on your kneecap, because we're gonna do a capsule car where your body is braced and you begin rotating your thigh bone on that working side. As you do that rotation, you're not letting your thigh bone move side to side at all. You're literally just rotating it like an axle. Yeah, there we go. Good. Really slow it down so you can find a complete stop. Sometimes Hannah can't help it. Her mime training just turns on too strong. I love that. Most people, I would say mime training and it would be a total joke, but this person literally actually had some mime training.
Thanks, BFA and Apple.
Yeah, seriously.
Putting it to work in
The-
an unconventional way.
The places that a degree in fine arts or performing arts will take you. Good. 30 more seconds here, wringing out that rotation, finding a complete stop. So Hannah's knocking on the door as on how much can she rotate each time. It's not just a simple wave back and forth. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, keep working, 2, and 1, relax. Okay, other side, so straighten out that working leg, that previously working leg, and then we'll lift the other leg, find the knee right over the hip.
It's so tired.
She's noticing it's so tired from those knee bends and that ankle work. Try to find a roughly 90-degree angle at that knee, okay? And then finger right on the kneecap and begin rotating that thigh bone so that you find as much rotation as you can. So we reference the movement of the bones quite a bit, but sometimes you can use other reference points to help. You can think about turning your hamstring tissue that was just working so hard. You can try to turn that, and that would mean that you're rotating your hip as well. Continue here, 30 more seconds, finding complete stops and not letting that lower back move away from the floor or change position at all. Good. Keep working hard. 10 more seconds. Complete stops to wring out contraction. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. Very nice work today, team. Thanks so much for joining us for leg day. As always, we would love to hear any comments or questions about the stretches or sensations that you're feeling, especially as you come back for retakes of this class, because the positions will feel a little different as you come back. All right, have a great one.